Examples there of the very earliest church fathers. They're called apostolic church fathers because they're just after the apostles and they knew them, and they're saying what? Jesus is God. Jesus is divine. Yeah?
But isn't there an argument that witnesses put in which they say that Jesus is God, he is a God?
Yes.
So they say that there is some kind of sense in which you could call him God, but just not Jehovah. How would you say that? I mean, I know you can say, well, that's not the case, but if a witness was here now saying that, how would you kind of, you know?
Yes, how would you
answer that, you know?
Yeah. I suppose I would go to something like Isaiah 43. Yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Don't mean 44.
Oh, maybe it's 44, yeah. Yeah, here we are. So, 44 verse 6. Is that the one you're thinking of as well?
I was thinking of verse 8, but yes, 6
right.
does it as well, yeah.
Yeah, so verse 6, well, you read those, Paul, again.
Yeah, verse 6 says, "Thus saith the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, I am the first, and I am the last, and beside me there is no God." Which, interestingly, the phrase is picked up in Revelation by Jesus as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Jesus, there's also, in Revelation, he's also referred to as the first and the last. But the point here is that besides me there is no God.
And then he reiterates again in verse 8, "Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have not I told thee from that time, and have declared it, yet even my witnesses, is there a God beside me?" I thought it was rhetorical, but then he even answers it, "Yea, there is no God, I know not any."
Yes.
Very powerful.
Yeah, it is.
And a great answer for Mormons as well. "Is there any other God beside me? There is no God, I know not any."
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, if there were no God beside, in fact, there's another example in chapter 45, verse 5. "I am the Lord, and there is no one else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me." And elsewhere he talks about, I'm trying to remember it, where when he created the earth, and again he says there was no God beside him. Well, we've read that Jesus is God, and what's more, we read that Jesus created, did we not?
Yes.
We've read that Jesus created, for example, in Colossians, he created all things. And also in John chapter 1, all things came into being by Christ, through Christ. But then there was no one else besides the Lord, Yahweh, in the beginning. So how can that happen? Unless, of course, we reconcile by saying there is yet one God, but three persons in that Godhead, in that one God. That's the only way you can reconcile it. And do you notice as well, very interesting, that we've read about the Lord in those verses, capital Lord, which is really a replacement for the divine name, which we don't know. But how interesting that Jesus was referred to as Lord. there must be some significance, I'm sure, in that, because at the time of the 1st century, that divine name had been substituted with Lord, and now here are the disciples, and here's Paul using this title Lord, which was used in emperor worship, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was considered to be a godlike or an indication of deity, and it was being applied to Jesus.
This is
No
Kyrios.
accident. Yes, Kyrios.
Yeah.
No accident. Surely it was by design. The Lord that they were now seeing in the flesh was the Lord Yahweh unseen. In fact, there's a terrific example of this, and maybe because time's getting ahead of us, we could just look at that as a kind of a conclusion, which is Isaiah chapter 6. Now, this is a vision, and Isaiah in chapter 6 verse 1 says that in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Okay, verse 5. He says, Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord, capital letters, of hosts. So who did Isaiah see in this vision? Well, the reference here is to uppercase Lord, which is Yahweh, or as commonly translated, Jehovah. Yeah? So this is Isaiah in vision, seeing the glory of Yahweh. Yeah? Now notice, turn to John chapter 12 and verse 35. Yeah? Yes, yeah. Okay, in fact, now let's look at John chapter 12 and verse 39 to 41. No, verse 38 to 41. How would you read that, Paul?
But the saying of Isaiah, the prophet, might be fulfilled, which he spake, Lord, who hath believed our report, and to whom hath the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, because Isaiah said, again, He hath blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Isaiah when he saw his glory, and spake of him.
Now, this is talking about Jesus, but we're told in verse 41 that these things also Isaiah said when he saw his glory and spoke of him. Now, can we prove that this reference to his glory and the speaking of him, which John is indicating is about Jesus, can we link that to the vision in chapter 6 of Isaiah? Well, we can, because if you look down in chapter 6 of Isaiah and verse 10, notice what it says.
Yeah, the same.
It says exactly
Same
the
words,
same words. So do
Make
you
the
want to read that?
heartless people,
Yeah.
make their ears heavy.
That's the see that
Mm.
hear with their ears, understand with their heart, and convert and be healed.
And another one, and I don't wish to preempt you because you may have even
No, go on,
this
go on.
lined up, but
Yeah.
but it just reminded me when you say that a little bit further on in John 17.
Yeah.
John 17 and verse 4. Jesus says, I have glorified thee on the earth. I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, and this is it, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. So he's saying, I had a glory with you that was equal to your glory.
That's right, yes.
That I shared with you before I came to this ministry now.
Yes.
Down on the earth.
Yeah.
And just to kind of further emphasize that, going back to Isaiah 6 verse 8, the Lord, where it says also, I heard the voice of the Lord. This time, this is not Jehovah.
Yes.
It's not capital L-O-R-D.
No.
Also, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and whom will go for us?
Yes.
Plural.
Yes, right. Yes. Yeah. Very good.
Interesting.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. So why use that collective pronoun? Who will go for us? Yeah. Indicating some kind of equality, and obviously more than one person. And one of the things that clinched it for me, just finally, is at Hebrews, chapter 1. And verse 8 through 10. And it says, but unto the Son he saith, he being, any ideas?
The Father.
The Father, exactly, yeah. But unto the Son the Father saith, thy throne, O God, is for ever and ever. A sceptre of righteousness is the sceptre of thy kingdom. Thou hast loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Therefore God, even thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. And here's the one that really did it for me. And thou, Lord, in the beginning hast laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the works of thine hands. So hang on a minute. Here's the Father, one calling the Son God, but even if you want to get a bit argumentative over the translation of that verse, what you cannot tinker around with is verse 10, where the Father calls Jesus Lord. Yeah? Now, it's obvious if God has some kind of Lord, or is calling some other person other than himself as Lord, then we're talking about somebody very special indeed. Somebody who in fact has to be God, has to be divine.